Maiduguri Security Custodial Center Service Chief says they are winning the battle against bandits and oil thieves outraged over bandits' levy of 30 million naira on Zamfara residents. And later on the show, in an unprecedented feat, Nigeria raises more than $900 million in domestic U.S. dollar bond. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Utitoju and Emeka Madinagu. John Lee's Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. Anxiety has gripped residents of Borno State following the breakdown of the Alau Dam on Tuesday. This is because of the damage done to the Medium Security Custodial Center in Maiduguri. Authorities of the center noted that there was a breach in security barriers and weakened structural support due to the rising water levels. The Nigerian Correctional Service says it is working tirelessly to mitigate the devastating impact of the flooding on its facilities at the Custodial Center. In a statement, the Service Public Relations Officer of the agency, Abubakar Imar, assured the public that they are taking necessary measures to ensure public safety, contrary to initial reports. Now, let me start with the BKO. We have reports that the flood is gradually receding. But according to reports, news of prisoners escaping from prisons because of flood, what is the implication of this?
Oh, it's a very dangerous situation because some of these prisoners or inmates could be very dangerous. Some of them could be condemned prisoners who are just waiting for the hangman. And when they break loose, they can go and take the lives of people who testified against them in the course of their trial. It even happened during the NSAS crisis when some prisons were broken into, and some of the inmates escaped. Somewhere in Delta State, one of the guys who had been sentenced to death went straight to the home of the key witness in this matter and took the life of the fellow. So it's very dangerous for prisons to be breached because some of the people on the run could be very dangerous. You saw what happened in Kuje prisons when Boko Haram fighters went there to free, principally to free their own, their colleagues who are in detention. These are very hardened, very dangerous inmates. I'm sure that some of those guys released will be among those helping them to produce IEDs now, will be among their commanders now, who will have gone straight back to work. So it's really dangerous. But where the prison walls collapse as a result of flooding, you do not expect that all the inmates will simply remain within the walls of the prison.
They want to run for their lives.
Yes, they need to. Some of them would want to escape to higher ground. You know, you can imagine when the vice president's house was also overrun by the flood waters, and when they went to see the Shehu of Borno, the water was above his waist. So there's no one who will see water rising above his waist. Not all of us are good swimmers.
True.
You see water rising above his waist, he does not know whether the...
it's still going to rise more?
Yes. Whether the tide will kind of become even more violent to the point that it will now totally envelope him. So it's understandable when some of them escape. But there were those who chose to just look for a higher ground and waited to be evacuated to the new prison in the community, in the city. So it's not everyone that takes the opportunity to escape.
Well, BK, looking at the prisons, getting them back, do we have the data to say, okay, these are the people there?
We do not. And when when something similar happened after torrential rains in Suleja, a good number of those inmates escaped, and we didn't even have pictures.
No idea.
We didn't have pictures because we do not. We are supposed. The moment there's a prison break, TV stations, newspapers should be inundated with pictures of these guys so that we know them. Unfortunately, too, our prisons are located too close to urban centers. Prisons are not supposed to be too close to where the rest of us live. That's not the way it should be. Look at Ikoyi prison, for example. It's too close to where people live. And that's why I'm happy that the minister has decided now that some of those prisons will be relocated. They will build new prisons, modern prisons, and then relocate these people to areas far away from where the rest of us are living. Yes, they are human beings.
I hope development will not go and meet it there as well.
It depends. It depends on
because
where.
That's another thing.
At least, but you see, it's still dangerous. It's still better than a situation in which just 10 meters from the walls of a prison, you see houses all over the place. Go to the Suleja prison and see what I'm talking about. Go to Ikoyi and see what people are not supposed to live that close to prison. So, because when there is a break, a prison break, a jail break, they will be able to mesh quickly with people living in the area. And because houses are close to them, they will enter their houses. You find it difficult to apprehend them because they've quickly mixed with our people. But if prisons are relocated far
from town,
the security forces will be able, it will be a lot easier to get hold of
the area.
Yes, so these are the problems that we're facing. But I think also, going back to the dam break, I think that we have treated our soul habitat in such an unfriendly manner. They've been talking about climate change and some of the things that we do that cause these problems. But our people don't listen.
Taking nature for granted.
We are felling trees. We do not know that felling trees indiscriminately ensure that when this flooding happens, we have no form of defense.
Exactly.
We are not supposed to fell those trees the way we are doing. We are eating up the ozone layer. In maybe a few more decades, people will see the full effect of what we are talking about. We've got to take ecological issues more seriously. There's no way that I would believe, for example, that there was no warning sign. Because I went back to some of Inmates' alerts. And I saw clearly that we had an opportunity to deal with this problem. You know, the storms were very unfriendly. And at the end of the day, the dam broke. We are even lucky. If it was a bigger dam,
this is not what we're going to be talking about.
Hundreds of people will have been dead by now. It's a small dam, because I've seen it. I've seen that dam before.
You
know, it's a small dam. We are very lucky. If it was a much bigger dam, oh my God, this is not what we're talking about, but the people still need to be supported because this is a big calamity. Cemetery, the Gwange Cemetery, for example, has now been overrun and corpses are floating on the water.
Zoos, animals.
Yes, because snakes. The wall, some of the animals have drowned.
Crocodile.
Crocodiles, even a lion was said to have escaped. There is no, once the wall breaks, it allows people free rein. And naturally, that whole area, because it was overrun. I mean, even when somebody told me about what happened on Lagos Street, there is a bridge. You expect that place is higher ground. But they were telling me that even walking on that bridge, the water still reaches your chest.
Level.
And I look at that bridge, I can't explain how, in spite of that bridge, that water will still get to that level. Because when you are driving through that bridge, you look at the river. It's still far away, deep down. But the whole place was overrun. Corpses are floating on the river. People can't find good water to drink, and the water that they are drinking is already contaminated. With corpses.
Oh dear.
Floating. So it's a big, big calamity, and I expect government now, if they need to seek international support, they have to do it so that we can help our people.
So let's talk about the responses now. What do you make of the responses from different quarters? Responses from NEMA, responses from the army, responses from the vice president, and what do you make of it? I saw the video of the army and I was really impressed. What do you make of it?
Well, we like responding to disasters instead of working hard to prevent disasters. This thing happened last in 1994. The allowed dam burst last in 1994. Now, when we kept having these environmental problems, then President Goodluck Jonathan in 2010, he asked the World Bank for assistance. And the World Bank now drew up a program, a new map program. Now, that program ended in 2021, but it was extended by 2 years, and it was replaced by another program, the Agroclimatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes, ACRESAL, that's the acronym. Now, one of the problems identified by ACRESAL in Borno, which, looks so ironical, is that it's shortage of water. Then in another part, issue of threat of flooding, and among other issues, arid landscape and all that. So now you expect that over the 10, 12 years that new map lasted, that experts would have been trained, climatologists, geologists, and the rest of them would have been trained to be able to, provide proactive measures, against any disaster. Since NIMET, does its work, regularly. So it was expected that, okay, such experts, there will be a large pool of experts. But I don't know, it's possible maybe the pool was assembled and maybe some of them have left the country. So yes, response commendable, but more commendable should be the fact that we can prevent this thing.
We can prevent this.
Since there were warning signs, people should have been moved away. Because Borno State has been acquainted with, resettlement of people because of the Boko Haram. So I expect that, this governor had said it some time ago that he would love to, close down some of those IDP camps. Okay. So I expect that there should have been a kind of, a flexible system whereby ahead of this problem, you could relocate people, and make sure that the human contact with this flood, is mitigated. Even if it lasts 2 days or 3 days. You saw what happened in New Orleans some years ago. But it's no longer, to a large extent, it's no longer possible.
All right.
So let's do something proactively.
Okay, because of our time, BK, in just 30 seconds, is it possible to avert this kind of occurrence from happening again? In just 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's possible. All forms, the people lose. Farmers lose their farmlands, their rice fields, but the rate of loss will never be anything near what we are seeing now.
We are seeing now.
Look at the Grow Dam in Cameroon, that they always release the water.
They also
release it gradually. Every year,
October.
Release the thing. Now, what, or even the Onyon Dam, Onyon Dam here,
Is
they
October.
always release it, because if the dam breaks, the loss will be much more colossal,
Okay.
Than when they simply release the water. Yes, every year people lose farmlands. And in Nigeria, River Benue, people living along the banks of River Benue, they suffer a lot, Adamawa, people in Adamawa, people in Taraba, people in Benue. Because once it's released, it goes into the river, and the river overflows its banks and spills onto people's homes and all that. But it's still better than to allow the dam to break. The dam to break, the loss of lives, because it will simply wash away everything on its path. The loss of lives will be colossal. So I still prefer that they do this
gradual release.
Yes, incremental release of the water to ensure that. I was driving through Ashejire and I saw the level that the water had reached, I think sometime last year, at the peak of the rainy season, and I was really scared. Because I saw that dam, I said, what if this thing, if they don't find a way to just release this water, gradually, we'll be in trouble. So I hope that it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
I just hope that it doesn't happen again. People, and the big people, a lot of the big people, their houses have been overrun.
Exactly.
Vice President AVM Alamin Dagash, who was a high-ranking person during Abacha's time, they've all had their houses overrun by waters. So,
all right, let's move straight to our next story. In the heat of the rising cost of food and other commodities, it is important to institute structures to protect citizens from exploitation. To this end, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, is seeking partnership with traders to curb exploitative prices. Now, the Commission also introduced an interactive portal for complaints to enhance consumer protection efforts, address arbitrary price hikes and unfair trade practices. Now, BKO, exploitation of consumers. Now, looking at this partnership, how can this partnership between the FCCPC and the traders curb exploitation of Nigerians?
I think that's the goal of the FCCPC from the get-go. But the journalists misreported what the FCCPC said. The statement that they made in Abuja.
I think they made that like a month ago.
No, it's not a month.
No, it's just like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 or 3.
There's no sensible person who will say, oh, we are giving you a time ceiling, go and reduce your prices. That was not what was said. It's the unfair practices, the unfair exploitation of Nigerians in the name of trading that the agency was concerned about. And you cannot deny, we can't deny the fact that, yes, things are tough. We are grappling with high prices, high food prices and the rest. But there are people still milking Nigerians because we don't seem to have any form of price control. People can just wake up and say, this is
the price.
Yes. You've seen even some traditional rulers invite market women, because these market women and men form associations and they direct their people. This is how much you must take. And because of the possibility of punishment being meted out to whoever does not follow the pricing templates that they've created, people, their members, just go ahead and bill people unnecessarily. So that is what the FCCPC is really concerned about. And at the town hall meeting today,
Okay.
Tunji Bello, the new boss, said, we discovered that some traders form cartels in the markets and put barriers in form of ridiculous membership fees intended to ensure price fixing in the market. Without joining them, they won't allow anyone to sell goods in the market or provide services. Such practices are against the law and constitute some of the offenses the Commission is against.
Okay.
He then said that the purpose of the town hall meeting is to engage you, the stakeholders, in the production and retail segment of the market, as well as service providers, to hear your own stories, with a view to achieving a consensus for the benefit of all of us. He said that the initiative is coming at a time when Nigerians are experiencing sharp increases in the prices of food items and transportation costs across the country. So he admitted that yes, exchange rates and increase in the petrol price have made life unbearable for our people and made oil prices unsustainable. But he made the point that cartels are exploiting consumers and that there is a need to deal with that problem. So this is the essence of the town hall meeting that they held today. It's not like they are saying people must crash your prices, because the question people then ask, okay, let's start from petrol. You know, but you know, I've been at event, for example, and then saw the way what was said at that event was reported, and I just shook my head.
Misreported.
Yes, sometimes we take interpretative journalism too far.
Okay.
It makes, and when someone says something, you can at least explain what he meant. He's not saying, no, prices, rise in prices is not explainable, it's not justified. But even in that, amidst the pain that we are going through, there are some Shylock traders, there are some greedy individuals who are simply out to make money without giving a hoot.
The FCCPC person talked about a particular blender that was sold for a particular amount in America,
Yes.
and they brought it to Nigeria, and they increased it by about 300%.
These things happen. A friend of mine was telling me about what transpired in his son's school, that they increased the
School uniform?
uniform threefold.
Why?
I know that schools are struggling. You want to, diesel prices have gone up, but you cannot then say, okay, uniform, you now pay 3 times.
3 times.
We have to help one another. And some of these schools, in spite of that, they pay ridiculously low wages. Private schools don't even pay teachers the kind of wages that they pay in public schools. This is what I've discovered. Some private schools don't even pay their teachers for the months of July and August. They will say,
Because of the holidays.
Because of the holidays. Some have come up with summer school, where we parents are then forced to pay exorbitantly for the coaching that our children will get. But those things are there. We know that until those children stop schooling, we have to live with it. You know, but
Ministry of Education should look at that.
yes,
because of those exorbitant.
See, how many? It's just like saying, oh, NMDPRA, go and close any filling station where they are cheating at people. They don't even have enough personnel to do that. And even in the ministries, the inspectorate units of our ministries, or Ministry of Education, across the country, how many people do they have to actually monitor what goes on in some of those schools?
Okay.
So
All right.
that is the point. I'm not saying that at this time that prices should not go up. Prices will go up. When you increase fuel prices, you should expect that it will have ripple effect on other goods and services. Yes. But the point being made is that even in all this pain, there are some Nigerians that just want to simply profit from the pain that we are going through. And that is immoral. That is not right. That is the point that Tunji Bello came to Lagos to make. And I hope that this time around, it will be what transpired will be reported appropriately, rather than the way it was reported the last time. That made it look like he said, no, you must go and reduce your prices or we'll come for you.
And lots of media houses actually jumped on that story. Okay, we go on this quick break, and when we're back, the conversation continues. It's still Journalist Hangout.
Coleman wires and cable, great quality, now with the new look.
All right, the conversation continues. It's still Journalist Hangout. All right, Emeka, let me come to you here. BKO made a point, okay, but does the FCCPC have the capacity as a body to monitor this compliance?
It doesn't even need to. Even if it has 1 million workers, it doesn't need to. Let's adopt scientific practices in the things we do.
Okay.
It's very easy. Go to the root of the problems. We've talked about the root. We've talked about the major problem now, which is the leaderships of the market unions. Those are the people you need to talk to. You have traditional rulers. You have community leaders in different places. You have transport operators. You have their unions. Talk to them. Those are the people. Then even the farmers' unions too, because when you go to the rural areas, because farmers want to quickly sell off their their harvest. So sometimes they just agree to being exploited because they cannot really do anything. They just want their money quickly. And there was a story somebody did, about a market somewhere in Cross River State where they sell Gary. He put the investigation on Facebook, and he said that he watched that there were some guys that would come, hang around the market, and just be watching the women. After some time, knowing that the women were desperate, they will now offer that we are ready to mop up all this Gary. If you are ready to agree with our price, that we're ready. So, and the women won't even sell, sometimes they sell below cost price. Not as if they're hiking, not just, but they will now force these women to go home grumbling. So that's another side of it. The exploitation.
Middlemen,
yeah, middlemen. They are self-appointed. Nobody appointed them. So when they go, they gather all these things. They now take these things to the markets. Then the other thing is this.
Are they self-appointed or the local governments in those areas?
No, they said, what's the big? It's not a big deal now. Settling those guys with spikes on the road. That one is not the problem. One other thing is this. Almost every major transportation of food items comes to Lagos. Because people believe that once you quickly land in Lagos, you get your money quickly and take off. So you even find out around those areas where these things are being cultivated, you have scarcity, you have high prices.
Yes.
Because people want to take almost everything to Lagos. And that is another issue. So the FCCPC should just embark on a scientific study, look at the situation across the country, and see that there is, a preponderance of, cultivation in some parts of the country. But due to, their low purchasing power, so the farmers, because they are subsistence farmers,
And
badly.
also, let's not
So they want to move these things.
Let's not forget the extortion by the security agents.
Security agencies, those local government
the
boys,
prices.
and then the high cost of transportation because of high cost of petrol, diesel,
I was going to say,
and all of those things.
How do we deal with middlemen? Middlemen who come and buy in bulk and then store those grains in their warehouses, waiting for the price to
rise.
Even
Price.
unions,
And
you'll
demand.
find unions, cooperative societies, they do those things. They keep them,
Okay.
knowing that the
Well,
prices
in
will
Yobe
rise.
State, I think they made some arrests. And in Kano, we saw them forcibly opening some warehouses and selling those grains to people. Again, we need to stop the way trucks move Nigerian grains across the border. Simply
That's
because
another problem, because
our
of the
currency is
CFA
now weaker
higher than
and
Naira.
safer.
But anyway.
So we need to stop. We need to find a way to stop that. Otherwise, prices will continue to go up, and our people will continue to groan. About the hunger in the land.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, let's move straight to our next story. Winning the war against insurgency begins with the will to conquer. In a display of this, the service chiefs have reaffirmed their unwavering determination to end the scourge of banditry that has plagued the country. Speaking after the meeting of security chiefs at the Defense Headquarters in Abuja, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, expressed anger at the 30 million naira ransom imposed by bandit kingpin Bello Turji on residents of Zamfara community. While noting that days of Turji are numbered, General Musa urged Nigerians to cooperate with security agencies to ensure safety of lives and property. PKO, you know a lot about Nigerian military, but the service chiefs once again assuring Nigerians that, hey, we have the ability to win this war against banditry. How assuring is this?
If they tweak some of their methods, if they listen to some of the advice that we've given them over the years, if you watch my interview with the Chief of Defense Staff some months back, in his opening remarks, he said, we always watch your program because you always advise us the right way about what to do. You are very objective and all that. We will not change. I'm talking about myself and everyone now,
Okay.
connected to this. We will not change. We have always said, look at your methods, look at your tactics. If it's not working, you have to tweak it. It's only a madman that will say, okay, I must stick to this method,
And
even if it's not delivering the goods. And they shouldn't be overly excited about the gains that they've made. They should be more focused on organic progress that we can see, that we can relate with.
Okay.
Yes, because sometimes when they talk about, we killed so number of people, we are not in position to verify whether that happened. How many times have we had the privilege of joining the armed forces in assessing post-operation,
Okay.
and doing post-operation evaluation of the scene
Okay.
of a military campaign. It doesn't be how many times, how many people have had that privilege. Okay. So you cannot know, you cannot validate some of those things.
So we just take what they say.
We take what they say. But I had the Chief of Defense Staff say that they are going to harmonize their efforts this time in terms of, because in the Northwest, for example, where we are being embarrassed by bandits, we have different military campaigns, codenamed, given different names. There is Operation Hadarindaji,
Operation Wellstroke.
we have different names that were given those operations. It's now saying, okay, we are going to fuse those operations. Let's do that. Let's concentrate more troops in the areas that are problematic. Let's send more troops there. Our best, like the special forces, for example. This leadership of the service chief, they've done something. They identified some very good commanders. Those who had served in the main theater of war, which is Borno State, and they've given them leadership positions. You know, they've made them commanders in some of these key battlegrounds. It's a very good thing because you are now entrusting responsibility to tested and trusted people. So,
let me come in. You talked about harmonization. Adarinkai, Wellstroke, harmonization.
I think it's different. It's not part of what they are bringing together.
Oh, okay. Hadarindaji and Wellstroke, bringing them together. Why did it take so long? And also, what difference will this bring? I think they coined it Fasanyama. I don't know. I hope I'm getting the Hausa name right. But
you are not pronouncing it right. It sound like something else.
Okay, but bringing this thing to what difference will it now make?
No, until we see, we'll give them time. Let's see whether it's going to work. I'm happy that the Chief of Defense Staff, who has the responsibility of coordinating military campaign, incorporating all the services, that is his responsibility. All of our training institutions, they are under him. And when there is a military campaign involving all the services, he is the person who sits as coordinator. That's his responsibility, you know, as the boss of the service chiefs. So when there is a general military campaign involving all the services, he steps in to coordinate and ensure that everything is successful. And he had been in Borno State. It was during his time that we saw Boko Haram beginning to surrender. So he knows a lot about what we are talking about. But until we see the implementation of his plan to fuse
these ops together.
Yes, these operations together and give it time, we won't be able to know whether at this stage, whether it's a good decision. Don't also forget some of those battlegrounds, you have no means of communicating. When the schoolboys from Kaduna were seized, it was the next day that the army even got to know, because there is no means of communication, no network, and the next military formation to them is about 40 minutes away. So they just took them to the bush. It was the next day that the military got to know that it had happened. So by that time, those boys had gone.
Even Chibok was late in the night.
Emeka, is the Chief of Defense Staff not raising the hopes here? You know, saying that, we are going to capture Bello Turji. And if you remember, the Bello Turji has actually levied this Zamfara residents of 30 million. Is he not raising hopes here?
He has to. That's his work. He has to raise hopes.
It is over to raise the hopes and now dash it.
Yeah, well, I believe that having been within, having got some cognitive experience from handling, actually being on the ground in some of these areas, I want to believe it's not merely raising hopes, that there is reason to be hopeful in the hope he is raising. I want to believe that, But I also want to add that.
He's setting a target for himself.
Yes.
He's setting a target.
Yes.
But Nigerians can give him a timeline.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I also hope they will not just look at the insurgents in those areas But also look at how some of these people are moving to other parts of the world, even especially in the south, where kidnapping is still a major problem. To deal with those things. Yes, oil theft, they have really done. I personally commend them. Yeah, because I know about a case. Even though it took some time for them to respond, but when they responded, it was really. It was impactful. They cleared those oil thieves away from that area. So they're doing well. But the thing is that they must ensure that all those who aid these criminals, all those who aid these characters, that whether they are traditional rulers, whatever they are, they are effectively...
The CDS, it talked about local imputes of that is fueling this bandits' activity. The question now is, you wonder, why the people trusting the bandits more than the security?
It's not about trusting. Do they have the weapons to confront the bandits? That is one. Two,
working for the bandits,
no, like BK said,
and all of it.
You see, the bandits are more mobile than the security agencies. A station where pupils were kidnapped from a school, 40 minutes away from the nearest military base. Okay. You can imagine that these people, they study the loopholes. Unless we develop a means of communication for the armed forces, that is outside of our outside of the telephony we use right now. Unless we can develop it, if the armed forces themselves can actually even develop something like that, it will be useful. Okay. So that it will be easy for them to engage in interdiction, and then also infiltrate all those groups to ensure that they can. But they need to deal with this, even not just insurgency or banditry. They should look at kidnapping. They should look at some of these things.
All right, Emeka.
Some of these other crimes too.
All right, Emeka, enough of talking insecurity, and let's talk good news now. Okay, a new record of success has been set in Nigeria's economic trajectory as the country secured $900 million subscription in its first ever foreign currency domestic bond. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, said the oversubscription is proof that investors now have confidence in Nigeria's economic stability and potential for growth. Edun also added that the achievement is a demonstration of government's commitment to diversifying funding sources amidst economic challenges. Emeka, let me start with you here. Raising over $900 million from its first ever domestic federal government US dollar bond issuance. What is the impact of this on the economy?
Oh, well, the projected impact is that there will be more liquidity in the economy, more money for government to fund projects and, planned expenditure. And then again, the rate is lesser, 12%, but, and also a 7-year tenure. But the other side of it is that, it has to be, government has to take cognizance of the fact that this will also spike inflation. Yes. And then it will also crowd out the private sector from borrowing. So whatever that money is going to be spent on should be such that, because 7 years, for government, government projects are not things you just wake up and quickly do, like infrastructure, roads, and all those things. They take time. So if there are projects that will take time, we just talked about the new map now that lasted for 10, 12 years, and then a new one. Yet we still have, we still had a disaster in Borno.
You don't see this as good news.
No, you didn't get what I said. I said it will bring in liquidity.
Okay, liquidity.
But you see, the issue about money is this. It's not just having it.
Okay.
You must make sure that where you plug it into will provide the means for repayment. And then also boost the economy in such a way that gradually we can reduce dependence on borrowing. Because right now, debt to GDP is 35%. It's high. So whatever it is, there should be that goal that, gradually we can rely less on borrowing. It's good. Domestic borrowing is good. That at least it's not from a foreign source. But proper management of all the indices, is very important so that we don't lose sight of the goal. It's borrowed money. So we don't lose sight of the goal. 12%, 7 years is short. So we can also meet up with the repayment.
Getting dividends of 9.75% dividends, is this attractive enough to you, DK?
Yeah, I think we should do this a lot more. Over-subscribed to the tune of 180%. That's impressive.
Really impressive.
View. It's impressive, and it suggests that we could have even raised the bar. We are looking for funds. We are looking for real capital injection, and whatever we can do to achieve that, we need to do it, because this, the implication of this is that it gives you a stream of income that also enables you to deal with the volatility that you experience from time to time.
Okay.
And I've spoken in the past about the need to take the NNPC, for example, to the stock markets. What are we waiting for? We've seen countries that did it. When Petrobras was taken to the market, it set a record.
In Brazil?
Well, yes, because it was oversubscribed. It set a record. Look at Aramco in Saudi Arabia. When it was, when they had their IPO, it was so heavily oversubscribed that it overtook Apple as the most valuable company in the world. Yes, I was reading that 5 days ago, Apple overtook everyone and became the most valuable company in the world by capital injection.
Okay.
The sort of money that we are looking for, because NNPC has assets. NNPC has assets all over the place. If we would do that, because it worked for Petrobras, it worked for Aramco, we are going to reap bountiful dividends. But it takes courage to do some of these things.
Absolutely.
I know that if we try to do it, there are people who will shout, say, no, don't do it. That was the same way they misled President Yaradua and stopped him from selling those refineries.
NNPC
they are there.
assets.
They will open their mouths wide. They will say, no, you can't do it. This is going to sell it to his friends. We hear these things. Malta, it is owned by Oando. You know, and some of the people that I used to respect, they were amongst people pointing at Oando, that Oando owned the Malta blending facility. Today, we know the owners. The owners came forward to say, it belongs to us. It's not a crime to have a blending plant somewhere. You understand? So we have to take the big decisions. For me, I look at our exchange rates, and I will not stop talking about it. I don't believe that our currency should exchange. You can imagine CBN selling $20,000 to Bureau de Change operators at 1,580. That means they too agree that that is what the value of our currency should be. Come on. This, in my lifetime, this sort of thing, and all of the pains that our people are going through, those pains are related to the exchange rate volatility that we are facing. Customs will say, okay, to clear goods that is going to be pegged at the prevailing exchange rate. So if we have a stronger currency, what we are facing now in all of those states that border Niger Republic, where our grains are just shipped. I saw in Yobe State, I saw a truck stacked with Nigerian grains, almost the height of this building.
Yes, they are super trucks.
Very high, like a story building. They are moving across the border. Of course, they are going to tip people manning those borders. They are going across. They are going to sell. You know? So why won't people be hungry here? What we produce, because some people will offer a lot more, we are shipping, our people are shipping what we produce across the border because our currency is weak. Today, people are saying, the petrol, this, it should be this and that. what are we talking about? The landing costs will keep going up if we do not do something about the exchange rate.
Absolutely.
Okay,
These are things that Nigerians must know. I saw somebody on TV asking, why should Nigerian crude oil, why should it be more expensive than the one imported? Of course, the Nigerian crude oil is the most expensive in the world and is the best in the world.
Low sulfur content.
Somebody told me about crude oil from Malaysia. Of course, it's very good too, but they don't even produce close to what we produce. That is that rarefied class. The rarefied class of crude oil that comes from Malaysia is not close to what the quantum that we produce. Okay. So they cannot even compete with us. We have the best crude oil in the world, and they refer to the Nigerian crude oil as the Lamborghini of the industry.
Sweet crude, yes.
They refer to it as the Lamborghini of the industry. And it usually sells at about $5 higher than WTI from Texas. Yeah. So people need to know this thing. Yes. If they say our crude oil is about $5 higher, just check the pricing template. You will see that it's always more expensive than the other international brand. This is something that anybody can verify. So you can't be saying, how can Nigerian crude oil be more expensive than most countries of the world? When they buy Nigerian crude oil, you know what they do? They go and buy those dirtier ones.
Yes, and blend.
And then blend with our own.
That is it.
Nobody simply buys Nigerian crude oil and refines it.
No.
You just have to be...
You blend because it is it is such a high class that at the end of the day, it is not going to even be profitable to you to simply blend it. These are things that many people don't know.
Okay,
and then they'll be arguing, they'll say, why? You ask for information, you'll get it. You have to be a knowledge hunter to sit in a studio and be talking about issues that you are not educationally qualified. You have to first update yourself sufficiently so that you can talk with finality about those issues. Otherwise, don't simply sit down and be misleading Nigerians. Nigerian crude oil is the most sought after in the world and is the best in the world. It is the Lamborghini of the industry, and it is more expensive than others. So this is the thing.
I like how passionate VK is taking this issue, and it's talking about our Forex. I just hope the CBN governor will do the right thing.
That's his mandate. If it keeps going up, then he knows that it's not doing it.
But anyway, thank you so much, BK. Thank you so much for having this conversation. I really enjoy when it gets really passionate like this. Emeka, thank you very much for having this conversation. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. And join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.